Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And welcome to a live edition of the State of the Saints podcast that is available to you on YouTube. And thank you very much. Yesterday, I didn't put out a video for the first time in a long time. I thought I'd just take a day so I can just hang out with my family and stuff like that. My girl was off work. Man, she been going at it, all this stuff that's going on with COVID-19. So, it's not very, before I even talk about the subjects, wasn't too much about the New Orleans Saints that was worth discussing on yesterday. I think, basically, man, we heard about the Janoris Jenkins contract. We talked a little bit about that. We talked about Von Bell, going to the Bengals. I talked about that on the last video. And, I guess today, and this is going to be like one of those times where, this is probably going to be one of those conversations where it's probably going to be a divide in the Who Dat Nation. I mean, we heard all last year. I mean, people were going at it, man. Who was the future? Was it Teddy Bridgewater? Was it Taysom Hill? Was it neither? Was it a quarterback in college? Was it a quarterback on another team? We heard it all. And right now, we're going to talk about this, man. We're going to really break this down and we're going to discuss this. And I'm probably going to ruffle a lot of feathers and I'm probably about to tick a lot of people off at some of my feed, my take on this, I should say. And first off, if you're just joining us, the topic is Taysom Hill the future? If you noticed, I put the question mark in it. Does it make Taysom Hill the future of the New Orleans Saints franchise? Because Coach Sean Payton has come out and said that he is indeed the number 2. He is the backup quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. So we don't need to discuss this anymore. We don't need to debate this anymore. We talked about a guy coming in from college. We talked about a guy coming in from another team, battling with Taysom Hill for the backup position. I mean, it's pretty much set in stone now. Sean Payton says that Taysom Hill is the future, and he didn't say the future, but the backup quarterback this season for the New Orleans Saints. But then I thought about it, and I'm thinking about, is this the long-term solution? Is this the long-term solution for the New Orleans Saints, or is this just a quick little patch-up? Is there's water seeping inside of the boat? Is Taysom Hill the little seal to just seal it up, okay? Before you have to address the big problem, which is the hole is going to start to spread and the water is going to get even more inside of the boat. So, in my honest opinion, Who Dat Nation, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't feel like Taysom Hill is the future of the New Orleans Saints. I don't look at Taysom Hill down the line 7-8 years from now being the future of the New Orleans Saints. I don't see it. I don't think that he's going to be the future of the New Orleans Saints. I'm sorry to tell you this. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. No, I'm probably about to make a lot of people mad, but honestly, I don't care. He is not the future, in my opinion. And I just don't think that a couple games and a few passes downfield is going to tell me that he's going to be the future of this franchise. Do I think that Taysom Hill can keep this franchise afloat? Yes. Do I think that he is going to win some games for the New Orleans Saints if Drew Brees was to retire? Yes. Do I think he would take the Saints deep into the playoffs? Absolutely not. Do I think he can take the Saints to the Super Bowl? No chance. I just don't believe that. I do not look at Taysom Hill as being a franchise quarterback. I look at Taysom Hill being a okay quarterback if he plays long enough. And I understand, I like Taysom Hill. He talked about how he shadows Drew Brees. He does everything that Drew Brees does. He followed Drew Brees around. He asks Drew Brees questions. He basically just absorbs everything that Drew Brees gives him. I tell you, Steve Young, he used to follow those guys. He used to listen to those guys. He used to sit inside of the room with them. But when it was time for Elvis Gerber, it takes more than a guy just shadowing a guy around for you to just say, okay, this guy's the future of the franchise. And, I just don't think that he's the future. That shouts out to Sean Payton, man. I'm hearing stories that he has gotten better. The doctor has cleared him of COVID-19. He's probably like one of the first people that I ever heard this happen to, as far as on the celebrity front. So I want to say to Coach Sean Payton, I'm glad that you're better. I'm glad that eventually, probably in a week or two, you're going to be back at work, probably, doing work from home remotely. But, man, shouts out to Sean Payton being 100%. But he did say that Taysom Hill is the backup quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. And then another question was asked about Taysom Hill's role with the team. Is Sean I don't think that he'll be able to use Taysom Hill the way that he used him last year. And I'll give you a prime example. Okay. I will give you a prime example. When Drew Brees went down and Teddy Bridgewater was the backup quarterback when he was starting in the game. If you notice, Taysom Hill wasn't out there running as many plays as he once did. He wasn't out there running as many plays. So he was able to do certain things, but he wasn't just the Swiss Army knife he was when Drew Brees came back. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that he was the number 2 quarterback on the depth chart. So that's very alarming to me. And my question is now, is he going to, and I'm talking Sean Payton, is Sean Payton going to draft another quarterback that has the same similar skill set of Taysom Hill? And one guy that I look at is Jalen Hurts. Will Jalen Hurts end up being a New Orleans Saint due to the fact that Sean Payton may want to still kind of run the offense the same way? And I have to see Jalen Hurts really in action. I mean, I've seen him as a quarterback, but I never seen him as a wide receiver. I seen him scramble on a few plays, but I never seen him as a wide receiver. I never seen him as a blocker. And I think sometimes now, we see people like Taysom Hill, and we think everybody can do what he does, but that's not true, man. This guy's a true football player, and you can't just, plug and place a guy just because you like, okay, man, Taysom Hill did it. Well, let me find another quarterback that can do this. I mean, Taysom Hill has this level of passion and a level of heart that is hard to for football players to have. It's rather you have it or you don't. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Saints are going to go out there and possibly get a quarterback like Jalen Hurts in the draft that can serve that purpose while Taysom Hill learns behind Drew Brees. That's something that it'll be interesting to watch. But, I mean, he is the number 2 quarterback of the New Orleans Saints as of right now. But if you ask me, is he the future of the team? I'm going to say no, okay? So I'm going to open the floor up to you all. Going to read some of these questions that we have here. And, feel free to ask anything that you want to. I don't have the phone line open today. Folks. I apologize. Probably on another live, maybe I have the phone lines open, but I'm just going to read from the chat today. So let's see. Want to give a special shout out to Goose Sports, Zach Holder, Deputy Mario, Pennywise, Jackie, Daniel. Man, shouts out to all y'all. I see Jerry in the chat. Thank you. But I'm going to go ahead and read some of these questions that y'all have here. Chopper City says, I live and I love Hill, but he's a patch. In 2 years, he'll be 30. Actually, Chopper, this year he'll be 30. He turns 30 in August. So, 30. I will say this, though. 30 years old isn't what it used to be when it comes to the quarterbacks because, number one, you can't hit them. You can't sneeze on them, okay? If you do this, hey, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be calling a 15-yard penalty on you. So the way I look at it, 30 years old isn't like the death sentence it once was when it comes to football quarterbacks. I mean, during the time where Favre and Marino and Elway were playing, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was almost time for you to wrap it up. But now you're looking at quarterbacks playing well into their 40s. But I will say this, the way that that Tom Brady played, Drew Brees plays, they play and they don't absorb a lot of punishment. With Taysom Hill, I'm very concerned about him of the way that he plays so tough and so rough, man. And, I don't think that he'll be able to play 10 years the way that he plays. He's going to have to simmer it down just a tad bit. But 30 isn't what it used to be. I think quarterbacks can play for a long time because the rules kind of are in their favor. Let's see. Hope everyone is doing all right. What's going on, Jerry? Thank you very much. Yes, well, I do. Maybe only 2. I guess you're saying that you feel like he is the future. Sheets. Well, like I said, this is a topic that's it's all opinionated. my opinion doesn't mean any more than anybody else's opinion. You know, I'm just giving my opinion about how I feel. If you think that Taysom Hill is the future of the team, then I understand that. You know, I get it. But right now, I mean, man, the jury's still out, in my opinion, on Taysom. What's going on, Mr. Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast? The truth, what's going on? But what are you doing, like, to keep your sanity? You know, as y'all can see, I'm at home right now, but I'm actually working from home. I'm still able to do some of the things I need to do for the radio station at the house, and my son is at daycare right now, so that gives me an opportunity to really just kind of focus in on my work and, also get an opportunity to talk to you guys, because if he was here, none of this would be going on right now. Happy that Sean Pugh is a class act. Yes, he is, man. Drew Brees giving $5 million to the state of Louisiana to help with food services. They're trying to deliver over $10,000 of food per week to people that are, dealing with, financial issues and stuff like that right now, in order for them to feed their families and workers to feed themselves. Man, Drew Brees is an incredible human being. Him and his wife, Brittany, what they have done since they came to New Orleans in 2006 is remarkable. You can say whatever you want to say about Drew Brees. You can say he don't have the arm strength. You can talk about how you feel like he, the reason why the Saints, haven't won multiple Super Bowls because of his salary and all that kind of stuff. But one thing you cannot say about Drew Brees is the fact that he's not a philanthropist and he's not a giver, because this guy has given a huge amount of money to the state of Louisiana in different efforts. And me personally, I think that Drew Brees, probably years down the line, he probably going to run for public office. It would not surprise me one bit if he end up being a mayor of New Orleans, because I don't think there's a person out there that wouldn't want to vote for old Drew. But congratulations, man, to the state of Louisiana for having such a great and giving quarterback. Unbelievable, man. $10,000 worth of meals a week on their team last season. Okay, the Saints had a lot of offensive efficiencies last year, and Taysom Hill made up for it. And honestly, man, it's not fair for him to be out there. I know it's a good tool to have him to be able to do so many things, but one hit can actually, prohibit him from doing what he want to do or what he felt like he was born to do. And that's quarterback. The Saints got to get other people for these positions, at these positions where they don't have to use Taysom Hill so much. If you're saying that Taysom Hill is your backup quarterback, then go out there and find some guys that can do, well, the job of a tight end or a job of a running back. You got to be able to find some of these guys, man. I feel like the reason why he was playing so much was because some of these guys couldn't step up. Some of these guys wasn't doing what they needed to do. If these guys were doing what they needed to do, guarantee you won't see Taysom Hill in so many packages. It's good to have them, but you need some guys that are going to be able to do some great things as well. I still think the Saints need another pass catcher tight end. I like Josh Hill, but I mean, I'm kind of tired of that whole wheel route that he runs, where he always catches the ball on the sidelines after he chip blocks as if he's going to stay in the block, but he always sneaks out. I'm tired of watching that play, man. I like to see a vertical threat at the tight end position besides Jared Cook. I think if the Saints get another tight end that's a pass-catching tight end, I heard they were trying to get somebody like Mercedes Lewis. I know Mercedes Lewis is a little bit up there in age, but he's still a pass-catching tight end. So that tells me right there that the Saints are trying to find somebody to fill that void. I don't know if they'll be able to get it in the draft. There are some really good tight ends in this year's draft. And, I mean, honestly, you already got yourself a number 2 receiver right now in Emmanuel Sanders. So maybe the Saints are going to look at it like, hey, we can find ourselves a decent wide receiver late in rounds. We already got our 1 and 2. We already have Trey Quan Smith, whatever. But, maybe they'll try to go out there and get themselves a tight end. But they're going to have to do something, man, because my girl at work right now, my son is at daycare. My mom and family are doing just fine. So haven't heard anybody being affected by COVID-19 in my family. And, I had a little cough and stuff like that, man. I've been taking antibiotics for the last couple of days and, just dealing with the allergies and stuff like that that's going on around here, all that pollen in the air. But nevertheless, I'm fine, man. And I hope you're doing okay too, Jerry. Let's see. Since we already have a number 2 wide receiver, man, Do you think that we need to draft a wide receiver in the first round? No, we don't. I don't think that the Saints need to draft a wide receiver in the first round. And honestly, I think with the addition of Emmanuel Sanders, I think that this is going to change the trajectory of the draft in the first round tremendously. Would not be surprised if the Saints try to trade, try to make a trade or something like that, or might end up picking early in the second round or something like that, or they might end up getting Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma, the linebacker. I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts. I'm seeing his name come up. Emmanuel Sanders, it kind of helps fill that number 2 void, but you cannot forget that you're still possibly going to need another wide receiver, but it's just not it. You probably need yourself another vertical threat. You can say that Devontae Harris is it. Maybe he is, maybe he's not, but you still need a guy that's going out there that can be vertical and that can take the top off the defense. We can say that it's Harris because he caught that pass, but I still need to see more out of him. And I want to see how much he developed as a wide receiver. And not to mention Emmanuel Butler as well. I like to see him and Lil Jordan Humphreys. I like to see what he's doing in year 2. So the Saints have some weapons, man. I think that a lot of people let Emmanuel Butler kind of fly under the radar because he didn't play at all last season. But just looking at this guy work out every day, just looking at this guy just get stronger in the gym, physical, and I think probably him working out with Michael Thomas and stuff in the offseason is really going to help this young man. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do, man. I don't think we need to just write him off and just say the Saints don't have any wide receivers, because we have not seen the elevation of some of these young players. We have not seen what Lil Jordan Humphreys can do in year 2. We have not seen what Emmanuel Butler can do in year 2 or Harris can do in year 2. So there's still some guys that are on this team that I'm pretty sure could have led the Saints to the Super Bowl. No, I do not. I do not believe that Teddy Bridgewater would have led the Saints to the Super Bowl. I feel like Teddy Bridgewater would have made the Saints competitive for years, but I don't think he'll be able to get them over that hump. I like Teddy Bridgewater a lot, but Teddy Bridgewater to me is kind of missing something in a quarterback that I see, in some of the greats. I look at it even like Wilson. I don't feel like Teddy Bridgewater can put a team on his back and lead a team or take the team by the neck and be like, man, come with me. I don't see that. I don't see that in Teddy Bridgewater. I see if you put pieces around Teddy Bridgewater, the team can succeed. That's the way I look at it. The Carolina Panthers can be a good football team, but I don't feel like it's because Teddy Bridgewater going to be lighting it up all over the field. I don't see Teddy Bridgewater winning MVP. I don't see Teddy Bridgewater being a first-team All-Pro. I don't see Teddy Bridgewater out here, just being an elite quarterback. I see him being a good, decent quarterback. And if you put a good defense around him and you put a good running game around him, he'll be successful. But it's just something about him that's missing, as far as a quarterback is concerned. And I just feel like that next level where we see when the team is down, like we've seen this on so many occasions with Drew. When the team is down, he takes the team on his back, that game-winning drive. He drives them down the field for a touchdown, or he drives them down the field. I'll never forget that week 1 game, right? Y'all never forget that, right? 4th quarter, 2 plays, Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, boom. Kenny Stills, boom. What did Drew Brees do? Drew Brees got the ball. The Saints needed 32 yards in order to set up Will Lutz. And what did he do? He gave him 32 yards. That is what you want in a quarterback, man. And I don't see that in Teddy Bridgewater. I just don't. We need to make one more splash on defense in free agency before the draft. I don't think we need to make a splash. I just think that you probably okay, Derek. I gotta do a disclaimer here because I may look at splash a different way from you. Okay, when I look at a splash, I look at somebody saying, okay, the Saints getting Jadeveon Clowney. Okay, that's why I feel like it was a splash. If they said they want to get Everson Griffin, I don't consider that a splash. Okay, I think that. But if you're talking about just getting another player on defense to kind of help and contribute, then I'm for it. If we're talking about going out here breaking the bank, trying to get somebody like Clowney, who I feel like is just a waste of time, giving a whole bunch of money to, because and I feel like whoever his agent is needs to be fired, because you need an agent that's going to be real with his client, and you're going to need somebody that is how should I say this? somebody that's going to tell you that you're not as good as you think you are. Jadeveon Clowney, the reason why he out there right now, because he thought, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I went out here and I played in Seattle and I took over games. Well, my question is to you, Mr. Clowney, where have you been over the past 4 years of your career? I mean, besides like being on the sidelines and stealing money from the Houston Texans. And you think that 1 year productivity and 1 year that, that just kind of like, that's and another reason why I don't really care for Jadeveon Clowney like this is, okay, when he played for South Carolina, like I think it was like his sophomore year. I mean, this guy was like wreaking havoc. I mean, he was like really tearing it up. And then like his last year before he decided he wanted to go to the draft, I mean, he was just basically phoning it in, man. He was whiffing on tackles. He was halfway in it. And I feel like that, I mean, if a guy doing this way back then, he going to do it in the NFL. And I think we saw that. He got that Randy Moss complex. Randy Moss say, I play when I want to. I feel like he plays when he wants to. He goes out there and gives 110% when he wants to. And it just kind of makes me raise an eyebrow of what kind of player this guy is going to be when he really starts to get some money. And I don't think I'm the only person that feels that way, because he was rated, I think, maybe like the number 1 or the number 2 free agent on the market, and he's still out there. And I think there's a reason behind it. Do you think the Saints are done in free agency? And with the 24th pick, should we target a linebacker, cornerback, quarterback, or wide receiver? Kieran, let me tell you this right here. I don't think the Saints are done in free agency. Honestly, man, there's a guy out here right now that I thought he was going to get signed, but it seems like they had some issues, and that's Michael Brockers. Michael Brockers was supposed to go to the Baltimore Ravens, but they ended up like closing the books on that boy. I guess like he thought he was going to get a certain amount of money, and him and the Baltimore Ravens organization couldn't reach an agreement. So I don't know if he's going to end up going to some other team. Maybe that'd be the Saints. But with the 24th pick, I think the Saints should target a quarterback or a linebacker. As far as the cornerback is concerned, I think they should be okay. The later rounds, you'll probably be able to get yourself a slot guy. But the linebacker and the quarterback is 2 positions that I think you need to pay attention to. The wide receiver position, I think they can kind of hold off on that, because there are some good wide receivers you can get in the later rounds, and you already have your number 2 in Emmanuel Sanders. Mark Bird says, what up, the host? I agree Taysom is a spot player that can excite a crowd, but stifle a team at the same time. Super Bowl or bust. Yeah, man. Taysom Hill is a guy that can excite the crowd, and that's why I feel like sometimes people get things misconstrued because they start thinking with their heart, not their head. Okay, we do this a lot in the Who Dat Nation. We like guys, and if anybody start talking about them, we ready to defend that person to the death, and we take it personal, and we take it to heart, and we tell the person they don't know what they're talking about, and we say, man, you don't know sports and this, that, and the third. But some of us, we just look at a guy, we see him catch a ball and he start dancing in the end zone, and we just all of a sudden just fall in love with the guy. And we think that just because he's a good dancer, that just equate to good football play. Look, man, I will say, and I will, concede that Taysom Hill was the best quarterback in a wild card game against the Minnesota Vikings. That's from Drew Brees, that's from Kirk Cousins. On that day, Taysom Hill was the best quarterback on the field. And I do feel like if the Saints would have kept him in, or maybe if the Saints would have ran the football instead of going for a 7-step drop and going deep and trying to catch the defense of the Minnesota Vikings off guard, probably would have won the game. And I think if they probably would have used Taysom Hill a lot more, they probably would have won the game. But at the same time, that's one particular game, and the Minnesota Vikings weren't prepared for him. So I think that it's going to be completely different when a team actually knows that Taysom Hill is going to be the quarterback week after week. So we have to be very, very careful with that. Do I think that Taysom Hill is going to stink it up all over the field when he becomes the starting quarterback? If he becomes the starting quarterback? No. But I am not going to say that he will lead the team to the Super Bowl, because I just don't see it. Jimmy Graham said, forget the Saints and chase the bag. Well, Jimmy Graham, he can chase the bag all he wants to, but he only messing up his own legacy. And yes, they need to make. And, ain't nothing wrong with that, and have generational wealth. And some people want to have generational wealth and want to be great. I don't think that Jimmy Graham wants to be great. I just don't. If Jimmy Graham wanted to be great, Jimmy Graham would have learned to become a better blocker at a tight end so he can be in games more. If Jimmy Graham wanted to be great, then he probably would have tried to negotiate with the Saints and realized that he was nothing but a power forward basketball player at Miami who used to foul out every game before the Saints found him and turned him into a decent tight end. Look, there's no secret behind that, man. Jimmy Graham owes his success to the New Orleans Saints, and he has not been the same since he was in the Saints uniform. He has not got any accolades or any type of acknowledgement since he left the Saints. And if he ever ended up in a Pro Bowl, it's because probably 2 or 3 tight ends end up getting hurt. One of them end up going to the Super Bowl, and they like, oh, man, well, let's just put Jimmy in that thing. Jimmy Graham has really done absolutely nothing for the exception that one as scheduled for next Monday. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I don't see why the media is making such a big deal out of it. I really don't. I don't see why they're making such a big deal. I mean, they say it might be closed to the fans. I mean, so, like at the end of the day, you still probably can get like some of the top draft picks that come there, in order to hit the stage and maybe do some interviews and stuff like that. Make sure that those guys get COVID-19 tested. And if they pass the test, then, let them come on to the draft. If they fail, then, just have a conversation with them remotely. I don't see the problem, man. But we all know that we live where the media tries to stir the pot. They want you to be all upset and make you mad at situations that not even that big of a deal. They try to make it a big deal. Me personally, man, I know the mystery of the madness. That's why I don't really fall for it. I know what words can do. I know what verbiage can mean. I know what the media tries to do to individuals to make them feel. And, I'm not buying it, but I don't think it's such a big deal as people making it out to be. Just get the guys tested, the guys that want to come. Let that be a requirement. Like, in order for you to be able to come to Las Vegas, we ask that you take this COVID-19 tested to make sure that we're safe. You don't want to be shaking the commissioner's hand and give him, COVID-19, So if they do that, they should be fine. My opinion is we have more of a need at linebacker. I agree. It would be nice if we can't get Keith Murray or Patrick Queen. Well, I guess you mean it'd be nice if we can get. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I like Patrick Queen a lot. He's a linebacker / safety type player. He's a guy that can fly around the field. And we know that LSU has a great track record when it comes to the secondary, man. Some of the best DBs and safeties in the NFL come from LSU. They are the true DBU. I don't know what Texas talking about. Them boys ain't been true DBU since probably like 05 when Earl Thomas and Ross and all them other cats was there, and Quentin Jammer and whatnot. I remember that. I mean, you can say Ohio State, they probably, give them a run for their money as far as DBU, but it ain't even really close if you think about it, man. You think about the Honey Badger. You think about Patrick Peterson. You think about Tre'Davious White. You think about Greedy Williams out there in Cleveland. I mean, you think about Jamal Adams. I mean, even for that, man, Corey Webster. I mean, bruh, like these dudes have always had like true DBs out there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what happened to Morris Claiborne. I thought he was maybe going to be one of them, but end up being a waste of space. But you can't have them all. All right. But at the end of the day, LSU is the true DBU in my opinion. Why wouldn't you want a player in your secondary that come from LSU? I don't know. Do you think our linebackers will take a step back after Nolan took the DC job with the Cowboys? That's a good question. That's something that I think about from time to time, Herman. But to be honest with you, I don't think that they would take a step back. The Saints, they could have easily went out here and got themselves a linebacker coach, but they decided to promote in-house. And if you notice, man, what we're really noticing from the New Orleans Saints is the Saints are on a kind of if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. Like the Saints are hiring from within and they're trying to re-sign the players that were part of the successful team last season. So the Saints are really just trying to keep this team intact the best way that they can. Yeah, they lost Von Bell, and yeah, they lost Eli Apple, and yeah, they lost AJ Klein. But I mean, besides those guys, I really ain't seeing other guys leaving and going anywhere else. I'm seeing the Saints kind of keeping these guys intact. So I think that's the important thing. And even when these guys leave, you can say, honestly, they kind of upgraded the position. I mean, Eli Apple was the starter for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, they replaced him with Janoris Jenkins. Anybody got a problem with that? Von Bell leaves. In comes a Anybody got a problem with that? The only argument you can have between Von Bell and Malcolm Jenkins, is the fact that Malcolm is a little bit older than Von Bell. But with that comes leadership, right? So the Saints have really tried to do their best to try to keep the team intact, and they've done a good job with that. So to answer your question about the linebackers, they hired the assistant linebackers coach as the linebackers coach now. So the New Orleans Saints, I don't think they're going to miss anything. I think when you have leaders on your team, like I said, like the Mario Davis, when you have guys like Kiko Alonso, guys that have been there, guys that are tough guys, no matter, who's on the field, they'll be able to put those guys into place. So it has a lot to do with the leaders that you have on your team. So I think the Saints don't take a tiny step back, because we can say that Dennis Allen is the defensive coordinator all we want to, but we all know, man, look, if you ever been in college, you know about group projects, right? You know about group projects. Y'all go to the library, or you meet up in a room, or you meet up in a dorm downstairs, and you all put your heads together. And they got that one guy that's probably smart, and that's probably the leader and stuff like that. But man, such and such doing this, or what if we do things this way? I mean, his dad was a great defensive-minded coach. Mike Nolan has always been a defensive-minded coach. So I think the Saints may take a tiny step back because he's not there. And I think that if that one person leaves that has some really good ideas, I mean, the whole group kind of suffers because of it. But I think they'll be okay. Teddy Bridgewater don't have confidence like a Drew Brees. No, he don't. Like that's the only thing that I can say about Teddy. I'm not saying he don't have confidence, but he just don't have that extra gear that I'm seeing from elite quarterbacks. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. If you watch an elite quarterback, you know it. TJ, what you think about Robbie Anderson to the Panthers? I think that's a good move by the Carolina Panthers. If you ask me who I want out of Robbie Anderson and Emmanuel Sanders, I'm happy with what the Saints got. I like Robbie Anderson, but he's a little bit too slim for my liking. So I did feel like he just one huge hit away from being out for the season. He has good hands. He's tough, but I'd rather take Emmanuel Sanders over Robbie Anderson. But I mean, I wouldn't mind if he went to the Saints. But man, congratulations to him, man. The Jets didn't want to pay him for reasons beyond me. I don't know what the Jets thinking. I don't know what they got Randy Moss somewhere up in there, Jerry Rice somewhere in the facility or something. I don't know. I don't know why they're gonna want to pay the best receiver on their team, but hey, Murray looks good. You can never have enough pass rushers type of guy. I believe in putting Brady, Mahomes, Ryan, etc. on their backs. Yeah, Chad, I agree. I like those sideline linebackers. I like them a lot. I like those guys that can actually play in coverage. Those linebackers that aren't your traditional linebackers, like Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, a guy that a lot of people don't know if he's going to play safety or linebacker. I like those type of guys. Those are the type of guys you can trust in coverage. And those are the guys, when he put his hands on you, going down. Hey, I know some of y'all may not be religious, but I ask y'all to pray for me. Man, Iceman, we're going to pray for you, man. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to pray for you. We pray for everybody, man. Pray for everybody to get through this. And, whether you're religious or not, man, we just, hope that you if you don't keep us in prayer, keep us in thought, uplift one another. Let's see. Iceman, I got to pray for you. Yeah, Iceman, man, we praying for you, my brother. That's a great idea, JT. Jalen Mills. Are you talking from Philly? Yeah, I mean, he okay, man. He just I thought they extended his contract, though. Are you out on Trey Quan Smith yet, TJ, or are you giving him another year? I think what the Saints did in the offseason tells you what they think about Trey Quan Smith. Trey Quan Smith has never transitioned to being that number two receiver that the Saints thought he was going to be. Uh, I guess you can say from that particular perspective, it was a failure. Trey Quan Smith experiment has been a failure. You look at when the Saints drafted him, I think he was like in the third round or something like that, and they thought maybe he'll come in and contribute, but he didn't. And Trey Quan Smith, man, he have a couple catches. He'll flash man, he'll just flash every now and then. And I think that's the most discouraging thing about it because you see the talent, but I don't know if he just let people get in his head or his lights a little bit too bright for him. But I mean, honestly, man, the clock is ticking, man. I mean, you're not going to get paid. I mean, he's going into his third year, so I mean, he was a late draft pick, so he's going to be up for a contract in year 4, and I wouldn't sign him. I mean, I wouldn't pick him back up. The only thing that Trey Quan Smith does well is block. He's a really good blocking wide receiver, but come on, man. I mean, if you just want to block and don't catch the ball, be a tight end. I'm with you. I'm glad we signed Sanders. Anderson had too many off the field issues. Derek, yeah, he had some off the field issues, man, but he cleaned himself up. I mean, let's give the guy some credit. He had some issues early in his career, but he ended up turning his life around, trying to get himself on the straight and narrow. So I think all guys need to get themselves, all the guys get a benefit of the doubt. People like Josh Gordon and stuff like that, man, they keep on like making mistakes and all that kind of stuff. I think we can kind of just say, man, those guys are lost causes and you hate to see it, but it's a fact. But I think Robbie Anderson's biggest issue was, man, he was commuting too much from New Jersey to Florida. Man, sometimes you just can't go home, man. Sometimes you can't go home because, one, you got those guys that's around there, man, that don't mean you're no good. And then you got haters because you're successful. So those haters that's probably sitting on the corner right now is probably opportunities you had. They mad that you have those opportunities. So they trying to mess up your whole spot. And then, you're trying to find yourself trying to prove that. So I'll give Robbie the benefit of the doubt, man. Hopefully he stays on that straight and narrow, man, and stay out of trouble. How do you feel about the Saints this upcoming season? I think about the Saints this upcoming season. Do I think they're going to win 13 games? No, I do not. I think the Saints probably going to go about 10-6 or 11-5, but since they have 17 games, I think they're going to go, 12-5, or they're going to go, I don't know, 11-6, something like that. So I think that the Saints are going to win double-digit games, but I don't think that they are going to win 13 games. I think winning 13 games back-to-back years, that's kind of tough to do. Let's see. Trey Quan, best highlight was that spin move touchdown versus the 49ers. Yeah, that in that game against the Philadelphia Eagles when he lit it up. That's about it. But he after that, man, he really did nothing. What if Trey Quan Smith becomes great this year? Well, if he becomes great this year, that would be great. That would be awesome. I think we all looking for Trey Quan Smith to do big things. I mean, we don't want to see this guy fail. I don't sit on the sideline and just pray for a guy's downfall and say, man, I want this dude to fail and I don't want him to do nothing. I want to see Trey Quan Smith step up. I like those guys. Like, I feel like this. When you see guys that come into the league with high expectations, you like, okay, man, like if this guy succeed, like it was already obvious that he gonna succeed. I like seeing guys succeed that nobody saw coming. That's why I got so much respect for people like Michael Thomas. And, from a football perspective, people like Antonio Brown and Tyreek Evans, guys that nobody knew about, nobody was checking for. And eventually, they end up being one of the best at their craft. So that is the type of guys I'll be looking out for. So why not Trey Quan Smith? Nobody expected a guy from Central Florida to come out there, and be a household name, a guy that's out there possibly going to the Pro Bowl. So I want to see him do well. I wish he does have a great year. What is it about Trey Quan? Why do we keep him? Is it because he does well in practice or it doesn't translate over to the real game? Because the Saints drafting them high. Man, a high draft pick gonna always get favored. That's just what it is. Teams have more patience with higher draft picks than they do with guys that's going to be in the fifth, sixth, and seventh round. That's just a fact. The Saints drafted him to be a wide receiver, and the Saints have patience in him. They like, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, he's a third round pick. It's not like he's getting a whole bunch of money. And then you got to think about this too, Iceman. Why would you want to go out here and say, okay, let's go ahead and cut him, and then you get yourself a guy that's off free agency, and then you have to pay him more than you're going to be paying Trey Quan. And the only thing that the Saints did, like I said, they just moved him down the depth chart by signing Emmanuel Sanders, which was a smart move. And I mean, what he's this going on with his third year? This will be his third year. So he goes out there, he doesn't perform, he doesn't get another contract. No harm, no foul. Trey Quan Smith probably making probably base salary, probably about $600,000 or $700,000 a year. So it's not like he out here just stealing money. I can see if he was out there making, I don't know, Keenan Allen type money, Mike Evans type money, Julio Jones type money, and he wasn't out there performing, then that'll be one thing. But I don't see the Saints just have Everson Griffin. I wanted them to have him, Linval Joseph. If Anyamata didn't come back, I wanted them to, even Xavier Rhodes, which he ended up getting signed by the Colts. So, man, I've been wanting the Saints to try to get somebody like Everson Griffin, man. I like him a lot, man. He's a leader. He's tough. And, I just think that they just want to go in a different direction. They want to, get a little younger. They already got Danielle Hunter out there and stuff like that. Odell Beckham doesn't play for the Saints. Odell Beckham cares too much about what people think about him. And him being at home, playing in front of the hometown fans, that'd be a recipe for disaster. I wouldn't want to see that at all. He needs to be far away from New Orleans as he can. I'm not going to lie. I think Keith Kirkwood would have been better to keep. As for Trey Quan, his third round mate, Michael Gallup has outperformed him thus far. Yeah, I mean, that's true. He has outperformed him, but I'm not cutting. I ain't thinking about cutting no Trey Quan Smith, man. That's two different. Like, we have to understand, that's two different types of players, man. That's two different types of offensive schemes. Now we can sit up here and pretend like Drew Brees just throw everybody the football. See, that's something we ain't paying attention to as well. Drew Brees don't even throw everybody the football. Drew Brees only throw like 4 dudes the football, and other dudes occasionally. He throw the ball to Kamara. He throw the ball to Thomas. He throw the ball to, like, he doesn't throw the football to a whole bunch of people versus like somebody like Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott throw the ball to anybody that's open. He'll throw the ball to Cobb. He'll throw the ball to Cooper. He'll throw the ball to Blake Jarwin. He'll throw the ball to Gallup. He'll throw the ball and give those guys opportunity to make plays. Drew Brees is not going to take that type of risk. Drew Brees is not too much of a risk taker, Like, if guys intercept Drew Brees, it's rather they jump in front of his pass, or, Drew Brees don't see him coming or something like that. You don't really see Drew Brees, like, trying to get the ball down the field or trying to – the way that Drew Brees don't throw this man a football or even look his way for the most part. I think you got to take that into consideration too. I think if he was to go to another team, he'll have more opportunities. Now, what he would do with those opportunities, I don't know. But I guarantee you he'll have more opportunities to make plays. What did Trey Quan running a 40? I think he ran like a 4.5 or something like that. What do you think the Saints What do you think the Saints need to do to go to the Super Bowl? Well, that's very simple. The Saints need to run the football and play good defense. That's what they need to do. The Saints need to run the ball, play good defense, and get the stops when they need them the most. Those are the things that have been prohibiting the Saints from making it to the Super Bowl. Crucial mistakes at very crucial moments of the game have cost the Saints their success. And also not running the football and overthinking plays. Those are the things that are stopping the Saints from going to the Super Bowl. If the Saints can get a stop, if the Saints can, stop giving up big plays, if the Saints can just run the football and control the time of possession, they'll be okay. I don't know about that. Every single year, teams get better. Every single year, teams get better. So I don't know, man. Like last year, I felt like it was their year. Okay. Last year, I feel like it was their year. And then as you look, man, teams get more and more, more and more pieces in order for them to get more successful. And some of those teams that actually had their shot, they slowly get pushed down, down the hope they make it to the NFC Championship game. But I can honestly say this season, I do not know what type of Saints team we going to get. Give Cam Jordan more help on the defense. Cam Jordan have help. It is about being healthy, man. Like, it's healthy help. Like, he has help. Like, Davenport does a good job. Sheldon Rankins does a good job. I mean, AJ Klein did a good job. Kiko Alonso does a good job. These guys got to stay healthy, though. It's about staying healthy. Like, they have the pieces on defense. They can be successful. They just don't stay healthy. And Cam Jordan is just one of those guys that just seems to always be healthy. The Saints have given Brees everything he needs to succeed. If they lose this year, I think it would be fair to address the quarterback position. Not going to happen, though. They're not going to get rid of Drew Brees until Drew Brees wants to go. We end of the day. They don't care, man. They don't care. If the Saints are going to go as far as Drew Brees can lead them, and I think the Saints organization, I think Sean Payton is okay with that. We may be getting frustrated as fans, but they don't care. If we don't make any other moves in free agency, what do you think is our biggest need going into the draft? That'd be a linebacker. TJ, I heard Mr. Watson from Houston don't want to be there. What you think about that? I think that's justified. You take his best weapon away from him in Hopkins. You send him to Arizona, and you expect for Deshaun Watkins to go out here and perform. Who is he going to throw the ball to? I mean, I'm pretty sure they're probably going to try to get one of these guys like Judy or CeeDee Lamb or something like that. But Hopkins is a beast, man. Like, you can make an argument that Hopkins is the best wide receiver in football. Like, as much as we all like Michael Thomas, we can also make an argument that this guy may be the best wide receiver in football. And you take this guy away, and quite honestly, it was out of spite. It wasn't the fact that this guy wasn't being productive. It wasn't the fact that this guy wasn't being a good team player. It wasn't any of that. It was the fact that Bill O'Brien was jealous of Hopkins. Okay, he was jealous at the attention that he get, the respect he got from his teammates, and he felt like he had too much pull. And I don't know who's running the Houston Texans organizations. I don't know if Bill O'Brien know where the bodies are buried, or he has some very incriminating photos of some of these people in the organization. But how in the hell does this guy keep his job? And not only keep his job, but become a general manager of a football team. What has Bill O'Brien done with the Texans to have him say that, oh, man, look, not only are you going to be our head coach, but you're going to be our general manager? I promise you, man, I was sitting up there watching that Buffalo Bills game, and I was wondering to myself, was Bill O'Brien going to get fired if the Buffalo Bills would have somehow came out with the victory over them in Houston? And honestly, you can even make an argument. These guys was up, 24-0? When they up like 24-0 on the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round, and the Kansas City Chiefs came all the way back, score about 45 unanswered points on you, and not only do you go bring this dude into the office and say you not blame Deshaun Watson for not wanting to be with that particular team, but the thing about it is, man, I hate to say it, but he's trapped. He's trapped. They can easily just pick up his fifth-year option and keep on franchise tagging him, and you know what I'm saying, until they can't franchise tag him no more. So basically, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I feel bad for the man because the Houston Texans didn't even have a first-round pick, from this year, and I think next year. They was going to go 2 straight years without having a first-round draft pick. I don't think they had a first or a second. So they would have went without a first, a second this year, and they would have had a first the next year. This team is a train wreck. Promise, he's a leader, he's a warrior, and he had one piece. Like, honestly, one piece, and you just got rid of that, all because you didn't like the guy and you felt like the guy had too much power in the locker room. Bill O'Brien is the reason why the Houston Texans are never going to be anything more than just, a mediocre team. And until they realize that, they ain't never going to be nothing. Deshaun would be nice. Yeah, he would. Honestly, I think Deshaun Watson is better than Lamar Jackson. I think if you would have put Deshaun Watson on the Baltimore Ravens football team this season, last season, I think they would have went to the Super Bowl. That's just my honest opinion. I think with the Bill Belichick philosophy, you get rid of a player a year early versus a year too late. Iceman, look, I understand that. I get it. But everybody ain't Bill Belichick. All right, man. Y'all about to make me Belichick. They cannot be Bill Belichick. There's a reason why Bill Belichick, in my opinion, is the greatest head coach of all time. It's because his mind and how it works. You got all of these guys that when they lead a team, they won't have cutoff hoodies too. You want to go out there and go 3-13. You go out there and you be 5-11. Matt Patricia, I don't know how the hell he kept his job. I like when he on bubblegum detail, and then somebody might eventually bring his name up. But that's the reason why he doesn't get coaching opportunities, because he knows deep down inside he basically is just smoke and mirrors. He knows this, right? We see this. Bill O'Brien, trash. There's not a head coach that has fell under Bill Belichick's coaching tree that has went on to be successful. I mean, who is it? Eric Mangini. Where he at? He's somewhere on Fox Sports 1, right? Giving his thoughts. I mean, who on this guy's coaching staff has went on to be successful? Everybody can't be Bill Belichick. There's a reason why this guy does this, because the difference between Bill Belichick and these guys are just doing it. Bill Belichick has never done anything without thinking. Like, we look at the Malcolm Butler situation, right? We all wanted Malcolm Butler. We wanted Malcolm Butler, right? We want him. We want him so bad. Okay? You look at Malcolm Butler out there in Tennessee, this man getting misused and abused. Best thing that ever happened to him was him messing up his arm, only just bringing down the team because he was out there just getting drugged. You don't think Bill Belichick saw that? You don't think Bill Belichick, if he felt like Malcolm Butler was good enough to play, you don't think he would have signed? But he didn't. So, long story short, everybody can't be Bill Belichick. Diehard Saints fan, living in Phoenix, Arizona. How do I stop my two sons from becoming a Cardinals fan? Honestly, you don't. You can't. I mean, I'm a Saints fan. I mean, I'm out here in Myrtle Beach. My son is from Myrtle Beach. I'm pretty sure we decide to make a permanent home here in South Carolina. He might end up coming a Panthers fan. I don't know. Can't stop it, man. Only thing you can do is just show your fandom and maybe they'll catch on to it. Yo, what's good, TJ and chat? Let's see. We blessed to have Loomis. Yeah, Loomis, that boy wizard with that cap. I think people don't say anything about Sean not running the ball because they are scared to lose their job. I mean, AP told him, yo, run the ball, and the next week he was gone. Well, I mean, he wants to be the guy in charge, man. I mean, I can understand that to a certain extent, though, Iceman. If you're a manager, you don't want the inmates to be running the asylum. You don't want people to be going over your head and all that kind of stuff. And you can't let stuff slip through the cracks. And even though you probably want to make it slip through the cracks, you can't, because that shows a sign of buy Saints gear. I'm not saying Sean is Belichick. I'm saying that he has to pull in the organization to get Brees up out of there if he sees fit. Well, I'm not saying that, Iceman. I don't know if you're saying that. If you think that I'm saying that Sean is Belichick, I'm not saying that. I think that was just two different entities or whatever. You know, I'm looking at Bill Belichick as a coach. I'm looking at Sean Payton as a coach. Bill Belichick is a person, he doesn't get attached to players. And I don't think Sean works like that. It's hard for me to think that Sean Payton doesn't look at Drew Brees differently than any other of those other players. I mean, their success is conjoined together. I mean, you can't tell the Drew Brees story without telling Sean Payton's story. That's just what it is. And I think Sean Payton knows that. I think Sean Payton feels like he owes a debt of gratitude to Drew Brees and what he has brought to the organization. But at the end of the day, you know, you got to be able to make those tough decisions. And it wasn't like as much you know, as we've been getting on Drew Brees. I mean, it wasn't like Drew Brees just fell off a cliff or something like that last season. It wasn't like he just fell off a cliff. Now, you can make an argument about Tom Brady, man. Tom Brady was looking like hot garbage, okay? The last image that we had of Tom Brady was him throwing a pick six. And he couldn't lead the team like he once did, man. I mean, even in the month of December, Drew Brees had 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So you still can hang your hat on that. So if you were like comparing and saying like, okay, one of these quarterbacks have to go, which one do you see? I mean, Drew Brees played pretty well. I mean, you can say that it had a lot to do with the fact that he missed those. That had something to do with that. So I hear what you're saying, TJ, but Sean Way and play calling is causing us Super Bowl. Maybe he needs to listen to some of the players' pride comes before the fall. And he's not going to listen to him. He's not going to listen to him, man. He called plays the way that he feels like he needs to call plays. Hold up, TJ. He stepped off a cliff in the Vikings game. I'm sorry, fam. That last time we saw Drew, it was a fumble and an interception. So that means he fell off a cliff? So one game decides that he fall off a cliff. I don't agree with that, man. I mean, you look at Tom Brady from week to week. Tom Brady was looking hot garbage. You know what I'm saying? Like he was looking hot garbage. He couldn't get the ball where it needed to be. You can say that it had a lot to do with the chemistry of receivers, but you can tell like it was just something different. I mean, he was even flinching and stuff like that in the pocket the way that he didn't do before. I don't say one game doesn't decide you falling off a cliff. What about in 2017 when the Saints were down 17 to the Case Keenum Vikings? I'm noticing a theme here. Yeah, but I also remember the Saints being down in that game and Drew Brees bringing them back and throwing a fade route right to Alvin Kamara in the back of the end zone to get them boys the lead. So that story could have easily been told a completely different way, my friend. You know, I mean, if Marcus Williams didn't miss that tackle, we would have been talking about one of the best comebacks in Saints history. We would have been talking about how great Drew Brees is. I mean, I'm telling you, it's a fine line between the hero and GOAT, because that game he could have easily been the hero going into Philadelphia for the NFC Championship game. As bad as he played in that first half, he still brought them boys back, and he still did enough for the team to go, you know, to win that game. In 2018, interception first play in overtime. Shouldn't have been no overtime. If we're gonna talk about overtime, we shouldn't even talk about the controversial non-call. I mean, it's a fine line. You know, we can talk about Drew Brees all we want to, man, but for me to say that he fell off a cliff, like, come on, man. Like, no. Okay, and we can make an argument, right? Drew Brees has never played well in the playoffs. For the exception of that 2000 Super Bowl run, Drew Brees don't play good in the playoffs. I mean, when have you seen Drew Brees just ball out in the playoffs? Since 2009, when have you seen Drew Brees ball out in the playoffs? I give the chat a minute in order for them to tell me this. Since in 2009, all the times that they didn't been to the playoffs, when can you say that Drew Brees balled out in the playoffs? Since 2009, when did he ball out in the playoffs? Then ball out in the playoffs when they balled out. I mean, he didn't even ball out when they went in 2006. He made a couple throws, but Drew Brees is always struggling in the playoffs. Always. Let's see. I missed Von Bell thought video, but why did Mark Ingram? Why did he Mark Ingram us? I think it was one of those situations where he thought he was going to get more money, and then the Saints kind of just closed the chapter on it. That's why you can't listen to these agents all the time. Some of these agents don't give you the best advice. And I'm pretty sure he probably would have ended up getting more money from the Saints than he got in the open market. Well, that's the problem, TJ. He needs to step up when it matters. You can't just be a regular season warrior, my guy. The championship is what counts. I mean, Peyton Manning did it for years. Peyton Manning was a regular season warrior, but we don't talk about that because he has 2 Super Bowls. I mean, Peyton Manning for years was the, basically just the step, the walking mat for the New England Patriots. So can't say that, Like I said, I mean, we can talk about that all day, man, but he never performed well in the playoffs like that. He never just played lights out in the playoffs. And the only difference is now is that it is becoming more urgent. The difference. We didn't have why haven't we been singing the same tune for years? I didn't see that. I didn't see it. Now it seems like since 2017, everybody wants to be super critical of Drew Brees. Everybody wants to be super critical of Drew Brees. Now talking about he bringing down the team. This is an argument that could have been getting made when he was getting max deals, when he was taking up the majority of the cap. We could have been having these conversations, but we didn't. The only difference now is we are starting to really start to appreciate the value of Drew Brees. And now we're looking at the fact that he can't play forever. And now we're upset that, oh, you know what I'm saying? Well, he messing this, man. We could have been making this argument years ago. I love Drew, but the fact that Eli Manning has better postseason records than Brees bothers me, and we all know Brees is better than Eli. Man, some quarterbacks just do it, man, in crucial situations. I mean, Eli Manning is one of those guys. He's a clutch guy when it comes to the postseason. But like I said, we can't pretend. We cannot pretend that Drew Brees hasn't been stinking it up in the playoffs all these years or been playing average at best. He has, man. Like it's just the truth. But we're just looking at it now because, we're starting to bite our nails and we're a little bit nervous because we don't know what the future holds for the New Orleans Saints at the quarterback position because we've been getting so much elite quarterback play over the years. Quarterback has never really truly been an issue of the New Orleans Saints for the past 15 years. Getting a little nervous, and now we want to nitpick every single thing about the team. Not going to lie, Drew has brought this on himself, and these last 3 postseason losses, it wouldn't have hurt so bad if they don't lose in the ways that they did. Yeah, we got rid of the future. I truly believe that Ted was the guy for us, man. Yeah, Teddy could have possibly been the future for us at quarterback, but he just played himself out of New Orleans. Saw Teddy Bridgewater. The world saw him play. The world saw how clutch he was. The world seen him go up to Seattle. The world saw him go to Soldier Field. The world saw so many mistakes. They see him not going out here, turning the ball over left and right. And, they decided to go win him. Because think about it. Once again, I said this. If he would have never played, the only image they would have had was a Week 17 game against the Carolina Panthers when he looked awful. And it wasn't his fault because they didn't have offensive line. The offensive line was some guys that they got off the street. The Saints were just trying to get through that game in order for them to, go to postseason. So that's that. But I want to say thank you all for chiming in probably sometime tomorrow. We're going to go ahead and probably, open up the phone line so I can get a chance to talk to you all and discuss New Orleans Saints, also the NFL draft. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Thank you all very much. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Also follow the State of the Saints podcast on Facebook, facebook.com, search the State of the Saints podcast. Twitter, SOTS Podcast 8, SOTS Podcast 8. And lastly, if you want to follow me on Instagram, TJ Jones _ TJAY Jones _. Thank you very much. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?